here today. All right, peace, everyone. Let this thing fill up. Questions, whatever. All right, let me know who's in the building. All right. All right. Who's digitally with me here at the Law School in Mecca so we can build and talk about what we need to talk about. All right. Peace to the God. All right. I sound good. I sound loud and clear. My microphone is registering. Oh, you got my. Okay, good, good. I hope it was useful. Just opening up some agenda items just in case, never really sure what we're going to do. I think even though I taught this in the first couple of months as we went digital, I think it bears me to rewind and go back to some of the things that I taught so that way we can see if we're actually using it. And then I might introduce a new plus lesson. Not really new, but a very old one that I haven't taught in a long time. Certainly not in this hellish year. All right. For everybody tune in, let me know. I have things to go over. Want to go through your questions and stuff. A lot of people ask me if the school's open, and I keep telling them yes. So if you're in the area and you're online and you really could make it, you can't come through here, right? Yeah. It seems nowadays I spent the entire last 10 years tweeting respect fake, or they respect fake, or never respect fake. And you know, it seems people can blow with the wind as when it's convenient for them, and it's nothing new. It's just that you see it more overtly in today's time, where so much of the works are documented or easily accessible to rewind. You used to see it a lot in the media world, but who can go back and get a particular issue? Who can go back and find certain things? It's difficult. When I was at the Source magazine, they didn't even have a real a real library of all their past issues. So when I did interviews, when you do interviews, you look at what you did. Especially if it was a long time ago, or certainly if it was recent, because you could have repeat the same thing and or build on things that you talked about before. Let's say if you had the advantage to build with somebody, from work to work. So when I would look for our archive issues, they had no archiving. They had no consistent archiving. So if they had those issues, they may have had them for themselves. Like the top brass for themselves to keep, but they didn't have an accessible archive for the actual writers, editors, and stuff. So at the time I was there, so that says a lot. Nowadays, though, everybody's Twitter, everybody's social media, everything is archived. You can find out. You can see the moves that they make. You know what I mean? I think it's embarrassing that people boycott something as if this is the final straw of devilishment. The final straw of devilishment. But they spent just a couple of, maybe a month back, they were trying to convince us, the watcher, the listener, the indulger, the custody, the product, us, that it was acceptable that that this Vlad was just a consistent vulture and whatnot and stuff. He's a good vulture. He's gonna be a vulture anyway because he's not really from this and blah blah. So it's acceptable. Um, sounds like a lot of excuses. But Here's a homework assignment, though. You go through the 48 laws of power, and you tell me, as they boycott Vlad, what 48 law is that? Right? Right? It's in there. It's in there. Talib, I didn't get to read all of your email, but I appreciate the history that you threw out there. Oh no, I did read it. Yes, I did read it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did read it, but I didn't get to respond to it. In fact, I think, yeah, definitely. I'm looking at it now. Definitely email. I would want to have to read through again for the certain things and stuff. There are actually certain things in you said that I disagree with. So I'd like to disagree with them. Show you the understanding. Um, by writing back to you, not just like reciting it now. I don't want to do that now. But yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, Jude. Like that term is the term is right. So people end up saying it now more than they ever did before. I've seen NOI Muslims say today's mathematics though, and I'm like, I'm an asshole. I roll my eyes, because it's like, you're just trying to pitch. They usually when they're pitching product and stuff, because I've been times when if there's a lot of 5%ers and they want to sell a bean pie or a newspaper, they're like, peace to the God, But when then I'm by myself and there's none, I'm like, am I an old spick again? Like, I don't know. But I've seen I end up becoming invisible again. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. But when there's sales to be made, everybody knows the math. Like they start, they switch up, right? Comical, comical. This world is filled with respect fake, right? Let's see. I'm trying to use my phone without destroying the connection. The reason the last couple of classes when there are parts and stuff is because the connection breaks. Answering one of the gods here. All right. What do we have here? I don't know him by number. Just off the head, though, I don't think it's just one. Like I don't think it's just one. I think they went into their whole bag on this shit. And I don't mean to, when I get to talking like this and stuff like that, it can be real brutal. You know what I mean? And I get to do that. I get to throw rocks, pebbles, stones, pyramids, boulders, lightning bolts, everything, because I didn't do none of that sellout shit. There's no sellout on my resume. I'm not gonna find an article where I'll be like, yeah, I was embarrassed I wrote that. There's no old piece where I gave Mace a classic grade or something. Or said that Diddy is leading the next generation boldly, into a new era. You're not gonna find it. Let's see. I just wanted to look for a page that has the 48 laws listed. Let's see. You said 7, right? Oh, number 7. That's funny. Yeah, I see you wrote it down. No. Not really. The only reason I don't say no because Jamar, that's his understanding. He really did do his work. It's not like and the thing is though, like I see in the boycott, they're trying to replace it with Ralph McDaniels. They should have been using Ralph McDaniels for this from the beginning, but he wasn't big. Now why? It wasn't because it was an Eminem Jamar combo. It was because Vlad actually made this forum large. He was peddling black trauma and all of the other stuff and bad music and all of its stories a long time ago, right? A long time ago. So when people say he didn't earn what he got, though, no, he did devilishment and he got all the wins from it. And the truth is that Lord Jamal, in many ways, did not make Vlad famous. He made him famous, more famous. And Vlad made himself infamous. And Jamal spent his time trying to be a counter view, which basically was slowing down the recognition of him being infamous, right? With his devilish friend. Now, aren't they using Law 12 here? Right? Yeah, but Ralph McDaniels didn't have the forum. So it's like, just like people could tell me all the time, like, I don't have any qualms of saying that, you'd be well matched to try to find someone that writes or interviews or does this better than I do. But I don't have the forum. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But how about this one, guy? There's one. Selective honesty and generosity, because I didn't see, uh, be a friend of your victim until it's, time. Now they're definitely here, right? Because what we're seeing though is not really mastering a cipher. Just got to learn though. Whatever Lord Jamal's doing is not mastering a cipher. It's conquering. So it has nothing to do with mathematics now. It might benefit black people, more so hopefully it absolves him if he completely destroys the enemy and we don't see Vlad and everything like that. He did something that he was supposed to do a long time ago. But he gave him life anyway, right? How about that one? Audio dropout. Does everybody hears me? I see that audio. I did stop talking for a moment, but I didn't see the audio dropout. Boy, if I could. Yeah, maybe number 8. But that's peace halftime. Yeah. Toynbee said, "Peace. I was really able to identify with the doctrine of Confucius and see that literature is more of a living document that tests one's integrity, wisdom, righteousness, benevolence, and ritual piety." Yeah, that's what Confucius was. That's what Confucius was all about. That's what, right? um, I don't think I have that digitally. I don't think I have that at all. That might not be something that is difficult to find online. You may be able to find that online. Peace, God. You might be able to find that online. Ancient text, stuff like that, you can definitely look, and you might be successful to get them online. And there are many more doctrines of Confucius. Remember that the commentaries, if you're interested, the commentaries in the I Ching, which is a very difficult book. People act like it's easy to read. It's not. It's hard to read, and it's harder to even apply. But the doctrines of Confucius are the commentaries in each of the aspects of the I Ching. I don't want to get the right word for it. See what I forgot what they call like the. I think they just call them the commentaries. What he did. Yeah, his commentaries on each of the 64 hexagrams was written by Confucius later, even though the I Ching was written by a king or two kings, if I remember correctly. Definitely a book that gets mysterious. But listen, today, feel free to ask any questions that you want. I'm gonna go through some select things and everything. Make sure that you go to the 5% media page. I write a column after every class, though, inspired by things that we talked about, or yeah, really inspired by things that happen, and then I whatever's on my head, then I just go into that. But what does the I Ching deal with? The I Ching basically it's really a Taoist text, and it breaks up the principles of. It basically is. I'm trying to describe it non-mysterious because people use it to do readings. They can be as mysterious as like when you get like chart readings, like for stars and stuff. People do that with that. It's even called a divination text, which I think that's whack because it's like if you write something really dope, now they're gonna say it's a divination text, like something divinely inspired. Um, and because of it, the way it's ordered, the way it's defined, though, it's used in claromancy, um, which is sort of like, casting of, like, kind of a sortition, like where they sort things to see, what you're dealing with, though, because each of the hexagrams, right? Let me see if I could explain it well. You got the 64 hexagrams, right? And they're based on the eight. How many is it? It's 8 trigrams, right? Let me see if I can open mine, because I search here and then Google Play Online. When you open up Google Play Books Online, it doesn't let you search for your own book. You know, you have to do it on the app on the phone, which is just a pain in the ass. So I can't open up my books easily here. Um, I may be able to open it up from here, from my file. Let me see if I have it. Okay, let me see. I can open it up here because, yeah, so basically they're based on principles of ideas, right? Trying to look for a good definition. Thomas Cleary's definition is really good. It's not, I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. Um, yeah, so basically it's a combination of 2 trigrams that makes a hexagram. And each trigrams, half of them are yang, half of them are yin, and they represent mentalities. Like if you get the sky hexagram, the sky trigram, it represents strength, creativity. Let's say lake represents joy, attraction, right? Earth represents receptivity, docility, which is like receiving, same thing. Um, and when you combine them, they mean different things together, and it depends. And each of the 3 trigrams, right? They combine to make the hexagram, and they are read from the bottom to the top, not from the top to the bottom. So it would be, let's say, if you had sky, and then I forget how Earth goes. Earth is yin, so it's 2 broken lines. So it'll be sky into Earth. You would read it from the bottom into the top, and then you would just consult it. So a lot of times you would be basically looking at it like similar, certainly not the same. Like 120 as a useful document. Like you would say, what is you see? I said that you got the 3 trigrams and 3 and 3, right? And they make 6. Each trigram is 3, and combinations of yang or yin. So they're either yang or broken up yin. Okay, so a long line is yang, 2 broken lines is yin. Each combination means something different. I was saying, like sky, lake, whatever. The person using it, let's say if they use it now, they read the whole thing and they use it, they would think about their mentality inside, how they feel, what is their mentality, what they're dealing with. And then what they would do is actually think about what they are dealing with outside of themselves. And then that would be the top the top trigram. So the inner and the outer would combine together, and then you would read the ideas that would come with it. And that's why, as I explained, it becomes a real, like, one of those like astrological chart type things, because people get readings, and then they see where they're at with stuff like that, and it becomes a real thing. But I think that the I Ching is something that you shouldn't really delve into unless you've read a lot of the ancient Taoist texts. and some of the Confucian texts, so you understand, because like the Great Learning, the Analects of Confucius, and other works by Confucius. Once you read them and understand his way of building his language, and of course you want to be consistent with the translation at least. So as I always recommend Thomas Cleary, what happens is then you can get an understanding of what the mentality is when they go into the hexagrams and breaking them down and stuff. But so Talib, certainly it is hard to comprehend like that because it's not a typical book, and certainly challenging. You know, I think that someone should be able to read through it, start to get some ideas of what they are trying to express, and then after they have read it for a long time, then try to actually use it, like to get insights. And you know, like 120 though, you don't go to the day's degree and say that's the answer to everything. And you know, what was this idea of making devil? That's it. That's the you know, like that's not how it works. You know what I mean? And that's not how you would work the I Ching either. You know, although that's the way people deal with it, right? Uh, boot camp click. I think that they do. I just think they don't get the sales. You know, Dug Down is one of the, you know, it has to be considered one of the all-time great labels. Certainly after Sean Price, they did get their respect and stuff, you know. Um, but let's say, for example, what Sean Price did, and that was the column that I, you know, I was inspired to write last week because you know Sean P. You know, it's the anniversary of his returning to the essence in August, so it's been on my mind a little bit. Right? Um, and I don't think that the kind of work that they make that they were ever going to get that notoriety like that, right? As far as respect, though, honestly, the circles I've run into, I don't see people disrespected. You know what I mean? Definitely don't. You know what I mean? The people that are writing about things now, they've missed a lot. So now we're seeing people that were around writing things in the last 10 years, but they actually missed everything, you know? And, you know, you can see how embarrassing it was. It's one thing where I could go, hey, I was there in the 90s and, and I saw all this and I was there in the 2000s, but now you got people that were there in the 2010s and they missed it. They missed the boat. You know what I mean? And that's definitely the case with Sean P. You know? Not only did they miss it though, but they, historically in all things, people have difficulty putting things in historical context. You know, very difficult. Putting things in a historical context as it is happening though is something that can be done incorrectly, and you could dismiss the gravity of the situation that we're dealing with, right? The gravity of things, or um, you could also exaggerate the you know, just miss things completely. Right, right. Talib, yeah, you know, you definitely have it right when it's first coming from Confucius. But then you also get the massive metaphor, you know, the wonderful metaphors that's in the I Ching, like the bubbling of the cauldron. Like one of the one of the hexagrams is called the cauldron, right? A cauldron is where, you know, like they do the spells in the big, you know, the big cauldron where you cook things, right? And in the kung fu movies, they grab it and they pick it up while it's all hot, right? 18 bronzemen, right? Um, So the cauldron has what? Inside it has water, and in the bottom it has fire. So the fire represents the yang, the water represents the yin. The cauldron actually represents the mind, right? So basically, the yin fire is what allows the water to distill. You know what I mean? So it'll be like certain metaphors like that are in the I Ching that to help you, you know, see certain things and analyze certain things. You know, so it's important. You know. And definitely, I could say boot camp is left out. I don't think that anybody has dared properly to put him in a context, which is a shame. Like I do agree with you. You talk a two-man group, you don't see people talk about the synergy of Smith and Wesson, who I think is might be the most synergistic duo I've ever seen. And I'm saying I saw Ray and Ghost, but as far as what they worked and made, Ray and Ghost could rival anyone, right? But from what I've seen, like Run DMC, all these duos that rhyme together, Outcast, um, as far as playoff synergy and mentality, um, that special brotherhood that comes across in the record, right? Because it's important, because these are lyrics. This is what we listen to. That's special to Smith and Wesson. You know what I mean? It's just an example. You know what I mean? Right? And you see things forgotten, right? Like how good, how important Beat Miners was in turning the filtered drum into its own thing, where that's all you need in a record to make it sound great. Or um, how good the last Black Moon record was. That was, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was really, really good. Right? All those things. Yeah, but they who could be surprised, right? Who could be surprised? Yeah, that was right last year. Yeah, I agree. 793rd. I agree. Like I said, I was there. Writing about all this. I was there watching people front. You know, a lot of people don't know that in the ciphers that were more crossover, um, that and things like that. Just being seen, people like Sean Price, they forced their way in. They made themselves be seen. They were too good. You know. Oh yeah, yeah, certainly De La Soul. Even though they considered a trio, as a group, but yeah, as a duo of two MCs off each other. But I just mean like synergy, like MCing together. Back that interplay. It's nearly perfect. The closest I've seen to Run DMC, as far as like two guys that just rhyme off each other like all the time in concert, um, while they're performing. You know what I mean? While they're performing, it's crazy. You know, I think as far as performers, Smith and Wesson are really underrated though. You know? Definitely, definitely. I've always been a big fan of Smith and Wesson. So. hmm Yeah. So the piece that I wrote was about Sean Price, but it was really about well, obviously some of my relationship, the nature of my relationship with him, but also like because we were talking about writing last week. The things he would always repeat all the time to me about writing and for whatever students I had to tell them. So I figured let me repeat it in that piece, though. You know? Absolutely, making me want to listen to some boot camp. I might listen to some all my boot camp collection. I got a big playlist with everything in it. You know, and it's funny. I just recently got all the Sean Price album, instrumental albums. You know, which is really interesting because it led me to listen to it a little differently. I don't want to get into it now. This is a hip hop topic, but it seems that's what you want to know right now, right? This class sometimes is what you want to know. Okay. Yeah. So definitely check the column. There's a lot of things that I could add on, but every class I want to talk about a certain book that we definitely should be having. Good question, Alberto. Um, I felt like there was something I missed here before I get into what Alberto said. Damn you, boot camp. You know what? I have my music on here too. I have it all. I have it mute, so you didn't hear. We've been playing my Ella Fitzgerald collection this whole time, which is about easily over 600 songs. I'm a big Ella fan. Let's see, my boot camp. How many I got in this playlist here? 748 songs, right? Did I put? Yeah. I didn't add the instrumentals in there though, so that's a mistake, right? But as far as the 24 scientists, right? This is where we could get into mystery, right? 24 scientists, on the 24th day. It is destined that you would ask about this. Since we want to deal with everything so mysteriously, right? But the 24 scientists are the ones that write the history in advance. They know what's going to happen, right? They're the great elders, right? I don't buy it. But the better way to teach this, the 24 scientists, is to teach what the concept is that we're learning here, okay? So it doesn't get mysterious, okay? The concept with learning, though, is that Allah is the best knower, okay? Whenever you do with the 24 scientists, though, that's what I want you to remember, because that's really the insight that is to be drawn up from it. In all ciphers, in all situations, in all subjects, and in all matters, there really is always a best knower. There's always someone, though, that will know best how to do something. Um, they may all know as much, and so they all act in unison. There might be one that knows the most, so they deal with that particular person. But there's always a best known, right? There's always a way to judge. You know, he's the one that knows. You know, um, so when we talk about the best knower, the 23 scientists plus the one, because it's really 23 plus one, that write the history. This becomes mysterious though, and I don't think it's taught in any other type of fashion by the NOI as being mysterious. That's exactly the intentions, and to make our people feel that we're getting that becoming Muslim holy, that they have holy roots and stuff, which I don't subscribe to, of course. I got the knowledge, right? But they were the ones that wrote the history. So they are the ones that are considered to have planned or knew that the devil's civilization would manifest, the devils would be made, all of those things. And what you really have, those people that are based, that are, that you just have people that are really understanding of the climate of the times. And then how long, if people are that smart and that in tune, how long does that climate, that ability to judge the climate, though, how many years would that extend? Well, it could extend thousands of years. So if we have people that intelligent, right? People that understand it that much. They're living in a time though where people are in different situations, massive oppression, massive deterioration. All those things aren't taking place, but a lot of massive building. So we have people that are building buildings, pyramids particularly, that are that are going to be able to last thousands of years. So with that said, it only would make sense that the most learned of the societies would be able to understand the flow of things for a long time. Hell, they knew the flow of weather and the elements, and were able to secure, you know, they did something that was able to secure those pyramids and keep them there. And whatever future societies and plunderers and explorers found, they did not topple it. You have to have a lot of foresight to know how to do that, and that's why people resort to aliens and stuff like that, because they can't bear witness that, you know, we would have been able to do that, you know. But it leads us to the one of the most important books about ancient civilizations and going back to figure the father of civilization is the African origin of civilization. Um, Let me write down the name of the author here. I'm going through certain books, some books that, you know, I'm starting with books that are on the beginner book list and things. I won't stay there only. I feel like I wrote that wrong here. Okay, let me just. Okay, right. Check Anta Diop wrote an, you know, his book is really foundational to the Black Books Power, you know, Black Books movement, and it's a difficult read. Check Anta Diop is not an easy writer to read. You know, if you might get through African origin of civilization and be like, oh, I did it, and then we'll throw you civilization of barbarism, though, and that'll make your head explode. And it's not because they're it's not because you won't be able to get through it. It's just that, you know, it's so technically written that, you know, keeping it real, it's pretty boring. It could get tedious unless you're reading it at every point to try to analyze and see the questions and see the things that he didn't answer and things that he started to answer. This is what you want to do when you're you know, when you're looking through that, you know. And the just looking at the chapter headings, I haven't read this in years, you know, get a complete read, you know. And this will definitely be one of the books that I read again very soon. It's really only about 300 pages though, so it's not a it's a length, it's a good length book, but it's not a juggernaut, you know. Blow your head away. Civilization of Barbarism, I think, is though. Let me see how long that book is. That I don't have digitally, but I do have that book, you know, in my collection. Let's see, I'm curious. Yeah, that's a 464 pages, so it's more of a juggernaut. But this book answers a lot of the myths and everything, or the misnomers. You know what I mean? Uh, Look at the chapters here. Meaning of our work. What were the Egyptians? Birth of the Negro myth. Modern falsification of history. It lays the entire foundation for an entire movement of scholarly works. Could Egyptian civilization originate in the Delta? Could Egyptian civilization be of Asian origin? The Egyptian race is seen and treated by anthropologists, so it gives you a background, so that way you know what other people say and the arguments. And then the arguments officially begin. Arguments supporting a Negro origin, arguments supporting a Negro origin, arguments opposing a Negro origin. So he gives you the nay as well. Peopling of Africa for the Nile Valley, political and social evolution of ancient Egypt, contribution of Ethiopia, Nubia, and Egypt. And then there's a nice little reply to a critic as one of the later chapters, and it ends with early history of humanity. Just the chapters alone are essential to read, but the Ivan Van Sertima collections are harder to find, and they were much more intriguing to read because there are many different scholars contributing, so you get lots of different vantage points and mentalities and subject focuses from each of the different scholars. It's very much more engaging to read. The African Origin series, African Presence series, excuse me, and then also that one book that, because people think of Sertima and the African presence in Europe, Asia, et cetera, they usually forget a real great one is Blacks in Science. That book is amazing. You know what I mean? That book is really amazing. I don't think I have that book digitally though. I wish I did. If I do, it'd be like a really big. The Sertima books I do have are like these big PDFs. Somebody actually asked me for a PDF of the Sertima book, but I lost track of that email here. It's very. I have to go find it again. But if you're online now watching this, and because somebody asked me for a Sertima book, so if you're actually here, email me again, so that way I could remember to get that to you. I know somebody asked me for that. Yes, I see it here, and I didn't answer. Golden Age of the Moor. Yeah, let me see if I have it in my files right now. Yeah, it's a huge book. It's PDF, just taking pictures. Civilization or Barbarism is the other book by Chiek into Diop. Right? Civilization or Barbarism. Okay. I'm looking through the African origin of civilization, forgetting how monumental this book was when I read it. He proved that we were the founders of this civilization so well that they just had to flip aliens and just get all like mega racist with it. But this is one of those books, if you have difficulty, you might want to read like a chapter a week or something like that, or go 10 pages a week. Sounds, but like if you can't get through a book that's very difficult, Doesn't have to be that long, but if it's hard to read and stuff, you know, let's say you got a book that's very difficult, uh, like some of the Schwaller de Lubitz works. You know, break that up. Read 5 pages though. See what you get out of 5 pages though, and then if that will work better. Cause how you process it, you know what I mean? It's how you're processing the book. All right, let me. Yeah, so that beginner list though is going to get it's going to get updated because some of these books are really hard to find, and that doesn't really help. I would like to have a beginner book list where every single book in there I could get you. I, as of this moment, can't because there's some books that I think you need to have and need to be listed there, and I just don't have. But there are some that are just like really out of date. Like, I'll give you an example here. Let me see if they even have this. You know what's funny? I don't have it anymore either. I looked for it the other day and I didn't find it. Yeah, you know, I had the Hidden History of New York, which is a really interesting book, and that book is out of print. You know, it's available for $50. I bought that book for $10. You know, so the exorbitant pricing to allow the fiscal gauge. All right. Well, what are we finding now, right? To affect change, um, to affect change, what we're finding out though is that what we were normally doing though doesn't seem to be working, or we're just watching people repeat history, right? Um, I think that change is already happening. I think that remember everything that is devilishment though eventually will die off if righteousness persists though in the individual and in the young. Sometimes when it comes to things like voting and stuff, you're not really focusing on the young and not realizing that the young is also what comes to play here. You know, I advocate though like things like voting and stuff like that because I want the revolutionary to have been involved in all the outlets, to have seen everything. It's important. Okay, you cannot figure out what you're gonna change though if you don't see everything. Okay, um, learn that from Fidel Castro. You know, a real master in all the ciphers. You know, and as a socialist, right? He was a real his knowledge of capitalism and the capitalist structures of all the nations of the world were encyclopedic, you know, right? So with the Breonna Taylor situation, right? It's more the same, right? It's expected. It was delayed that long to do that. Um, but here's the thing, right? When people when people do activist measures, when they protest, when they do things like that, it isn't really just for one thing. It leads to an awareness though, and then it's how that awareness is funneled into other things. Okay, and I like marching isn't really working to get them to do stuff. However, it works though. Has worked though for awareness. Why is awareness important? Because people don't have knowledge. Not the average layperson. The average person knows that these things are happening and it's horrible. That's not what I mean by awareness. Awareness, though, that when they now make their decisions and their choices in life, that now it involves this mentality that things have to be changed. So now what happens is that people go back into their daily lives, into each cipher, thinking what needs to be changed in the cipher. And this is something wasn't being done. Okay. And when you look at someone that changes and stuff, when it's not being done, and when it starts to being done, it's often because someone gives awareness. Just like in the degrees, right? We teach what? Civilization, right? These protests and these marches and all these things, they don't make them change, but they do bring the recognition of civilization. What is it? What is it not? How are we miles away from it? And it allows people to be aware, youth to be aware, others to be aware. Now they go back into the system. They might do something that seems like really non-revolutionary, like voting or something like that. But now they are starting to take a look and say, the youth are the ones to look at things and say, this doesn't work, just like we did. But then they will see something different. It'll work if we do this. We can change this or we could topple this if we do this. And that's where the ideas come from. But if you don't get the idea that you could look at something and change it, and your mentality changes, the way you see things, then, because remember, what makes these times of oppression a little bit different with Trump versus anyone else, which makes it absolutely different from other presidents, is that he does something that Confucius talks about in The Great Learning, right? He affects the individual to behave a certain way, right? He's not just enacting policy that you are forced to deal with. He does things that affects the way people think, and he enables whatever the devilishment that they had, right? So he draws it out to the surface, though. You can't say that anyone else has done that to that level, Can't say. If we go back into pre-civil rights, that was the normal order of the day. But there are things that happened in that time that are now happening now, just compare the rioting, the marching that was done in 2016, right? Right, the Ferguson riots and things like that, right? Oakland riots, right? Not the Oakland riots, but that's after Trump. That was against Trump. But the Ferguson is what I'm talking about, because that was police brutality. When those riots happened, though, you didn't see the average racist white citizen mounting up and attacking those protesters as if they were given allowance to. It's very, very, very similar to the allowances that are given during the times of the indigenous societies were still here and still not yet toppled, but being pushed into reservations in the 16, 17, 1800s. And whites were allowed to go into communities of indigenous people and slaughter them, scalp them, collect their heads, and get a bounty for that. And what this did was cause a fear in the society. You know what I mean? Trump, the way Trump speaks and the way he's acted is actually enabled a lot of that old school stuff that we didn't see as blatant. Though we see stuff like that. We could say, you could argue it was always in mid-America, but we see it in the urban cities. So that's something that, you know, you have to give him a unique gold star for that. You know, super devil star, right? Jammy Jam said, personally, oh no, I skipped something here. 793 said something. What were your foundational differences with Dr. Rashidi's beliefs? Again, God, I remember saying you went back and forth on a particular point dealing with determining origin in parts of Asia. Oh yeah. Runoko Rashidi, you're talking about. I didn't have an issue with origins of the original people. No real difficult arguments with, you know, the book that he helped edit with Sertima. My issues with Runoko Rashidi, Runoko Rashidi doesn't know what blackness is. He only knows it by phenotype. You know, if it looks black to him, that it's black. You know, so you know, people like me aren't black enough and things like that. He's not looking at things through genotype. You know, and so that became the main argument. Another disagreement I have with him that I never got to argue with him, you know, like just on those things alone, what I just said, I was kind of like exiled anyway. So blocked from his pages or whatever. But the issues with Runoko was also his incorrect take on Gandhi. Okay, a lot of people assume that Gandhi is racist and stuff, and it's a poor analysis of a man's entire life. He was as racist as any of us here were 85. You know, he was a young, successful lawyer, and so he really thought he was of the British Crown. Simple as that. It's real simple as that. So when he first goes out there into South Africa and they treat him like a black person, he's like, what's going on? I shouldn't be treated like they're being treated, right? And he writes things of that nature because he's trying to, you know, he's been equalized with them and he feels it's false because he's a product of the British Crown, you know? So the fact that he's not one of them, though, is being tested ASAP. And that's what you get in early South African activist Gandhi. People never really are able to go through the records and find things that he says later because it's not there. You know what I mean? It's not there. Okay, so that was the thing, disagreement that I had. And a lot of people think Gandhi's racist and stuff like that. And they're quoting stuff from 1919, you know? That's not really fair, right? He lived all the way to 1944, right? The other aspect of Gandhi that gets used to support that he's racist also, and this is something that if you really dig, is that they say that his handling or dealing with the Dalits, right? The black untouchables. And in this case, though, you have to really dig deep because You're not going to find like him saying something racist. What you're going to find is basically political differences. Essentially, Gandhi had lots of power. He's different than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King took a lot of ideology, and I don't know if I'm saying it right. Satyagraha is the principle of nonviolence, and Gandhi took that. I mean, excuse me, Martin Luther King took that. However, when Gandhi wielded it, it was wielded with great power because he wasn't of a low caste. He was a pretty, not the highest caste, but he was a significant caste. And so he had power. And as he became more of a hero and everything and an icon, his caste, not just his caste, but his power increased. So when Gandhi would say, I'm going to fast for this issue here, and I'm not going to eat until this is resolved. Yes, it wielded a lot of power. That's why he was able to actually shut stuff down. So that was the real issue. And Runoko Rashidi is also one that writes about him being racist like that, and he's really calling, early things that have nothing to do with the development of this man. It sounds like he didn't even read and research about it. I think this is what I think. I think that Gandhi did not want to yield any sharing of political power to engage in this. Like, he wasn't, in other words, he refused to not represent all of the people. He wanted to represent all of the people or else. And the Dalits, many of them felt, because they're massively oppressed, felt that no one would understand their move unless one of their leaders were. And Gandhi's, really, not Gandhi's overt argument, but really Gandhi's play was that they're not going to mess with you like that. You don't have the power in these circles. I will represent everybody. So then you could go through the whole thing like, I don't trust this. He's not really a Dalit. He's not going to this, that. But to me, in what I've researched, though, that's Gandhiji. And he showed and proved that he was righteous. And for that, other things that go against Gandhi when people talk about Gandhi. This is not something Runoko Rashidi I ever heard him say, but sometimes people will say that he was a pedophile or something because he went laid with young women and stuff. That was more oddities of then, because a lot of people don't know that he was married by like a baby. Like, he was like, what was it, like 13 or something, when he was like, already had his bride and everything. He didn't even know what he was doing. So the culture out there is already different. So it's totally different. So it's not like he's like an aberration. No, these were arranged marriages that they were already married to people at a very young age. I'm trying to look in his Wikipedia to see if they have, in his autobiography, he talks about it. Yeah. If you look in the Wikipedia, it'll show. Yeah, like if you look at the age that he was married to his wife that was with him his whole life, he was married to her at the age of 14. He was 14. Okay. He was 14. Okay. Let's see how old she was. Yeah, they both were 14. So again, it gives you perspective about the way they dealt with stuff. Now, then you got to understand that when he was dealing, and this is a very Indian ascetic rituals that he was dealing with. So he was trying to deal with complete unattachment, so that way he could have complete equanimity, meaning compassion for people without being attached. And I don't know, I don't remember off the head exactly what he was doing. He doesn't talk about this in like his autobiographies. But even the things that he would do with young women or something like that, the point was that he wouldn't do anything. Peace, God. I'm online now, God.
Yeah, no problem.
That's peace, God. And peace to the God.
Peace.
And he definitely, was just like any of the typical religious thinkers and spiritual, those in a spiritual quest in India, go through extreme ascetic rituals, and I think that was an ascetic rituals to show that he would not do anything. So it's like, if you want to call him R. Kelly, he's like reverse R. Kelly though. I'll lay with these women and do nothing. Like, it's just reverse R. Kelly then. Yeah, the anti R. Kelly, But Jamie Jam, personally, I take change on purposefully. The desire to grow, learn, and become comes from some weird internal fire. Well, I don't think it's very weird. I think it's great. Most other people seem to be antithetical to that idea. I think so. And that's, people are not good self-motivators, right? They're not good self-motivators. So they don't always respect people's like innate drive and stuff. They don't see like an immediate goal, like I'm working for the weekend, like shit like that, right? How many people have lost their their intensity because you can't even work to the weekend or something, a party or something, right? Chad, you said what led you to that book, Neil deGrasse Tyson? Oh, I always give I give a lot of you students Neil deGrasse Tyson books because they're simple and I love the way he describes things, real simple. Um, and he did a breakdown. You said he did a little breakdown debunking ancient aliens. He said just because your people can't understand doesn't mean men came from space to do it. Yeah, actual fact. Yeah, you know what I mean? Actual fact. You know, and they came and did that, and then nothing else, and it's stupid. They haven't been toppled because people have not been able to figure them out, and that's the thing. To when people deal with aliens as builders of the pyramids, they're looking at development of societies in a linear fashion. Everything gets better, but that's not true. Certain technology might seem, excuse me, to elevate, but that's not always the case. And if you to understand ancient, Egypt or anything like that, you have to understand that that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Right? Okay. Randy Black. Okay, yeah. Some base it on 793rd. Some base it on a statement he made about helping original people in their struggle with his own country at one point in time. Um, yeah, but look, people that really study Gandhi know that the negative about Gandhi that people have is political, and the fact that he fought for Hindus and Muslims. That's actually the argument, because Hindu got broken up into two, and Bangladesh is created because of that separation, and it caused a lot of bloodshed. So a lot of people blame a lot of bloodshed on Gandhi too, which is it's not out of bounds. It's not out of bounds. Gandhi tried to do a lot of things, and sometimes when you deal with political things, what you think is best, it's always going to hurt somebody, and then sometimes it can hurt a lot more people than you think it will. And that's the horror, of that, you know, right? Yeah, but that was my beefs with Rashidi and my take on the Breonna Taylor situation. I've been seeing when you're older, you're seeing police brutality cases and marches. I was in marches. I saw marches. I taught students that went to marches. Still do, right? We can't lose our resolve, because the first great building block is really the way you deal with yourself and the way you change everything yourself. How you defend yourself, how you cover yourself, how you cover your bases, um, how you'll be more visible in the society. Peace, God. Likewise, God. Um, how you be more invisible in the society, how you be more covert when it needs to be covert, um, and in many respects, playing a game, right? Until you can control all the pieces. Yeah, 793rd. Yeah, definitely. With Gandhi, certainly, all plays a factor. We can't look at people as good or bad. And one thing about a lot of the way people look at stuff is that they look at things only from the black point of view, and they don't look at people as a lot of things. Like, for example, right, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg returned, right? She had said that, she dismissed what Kaepernick was doing and said it was dumb. So it's like, what the hell with her, right? The problem with doing stuff like that is that now your opinion will justify what type of research you'll do to learn more. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't learn shit like that. You know, the truth is that she did a lot of stuff. Obviously, if it's in the name of women, though, it's going to benefit white women immediately. And there is no way of proving that she really gave a damn about anyone other than white women, and specifically Jewish women in society. But it's enough. But technically, what she did, though, wasn't, she did not do things that helped one group of people dominate over another. So no matter what, you'd have to say that she did things specifically for one group of people, maybe one group of people um, whose large bulk is part of the oppressor and only would benefit, but it had to be done, right? If you look at a lot of the things that she did, it ought to have been done a long time before her. And that's what's intriguing about it. A lot of her greatest things that she did, they should have already been done, which shows you how backwards and delayed this country is, right? But I don't want you to look at things just from a black and white perspective, because then that becomes the black power perspective. You should be studying people like this and saying, well, how did she do these things? What was the skill level it took? What were the things that she did? You know what I mean? See, I was building with my sister, and I was saying that politicians, for example, the roles change with certain things, and politicians have even more. Some of their roles are even more overt now. One of them, though, is their relationship with how they lead people's mentalities and their daily lives, like how they will compose or comport themselves, like how they behave. Obviously, I'm talking about Trump right there, right? But it's also with others, though. So, like when you see a person like um, Ocasio Cortez, right, who's very articulate and says a lot of good things for our people. She has some policies that, well, the negative things for me are things that she didn't step into. But I haven't seen anything she did that I disagreed with. Although there's certain things I wish she did do. But in a representative democracy, the way the U.S. is designed, um, you can't. You're not getting. It's not a representative democracy of families into communities into states. So it isn't the families talk to the communities and then they ask for this and then that representative does it. It's basically you pick people to represent that will seemingly have your best interest, right? And it's a much different representative democracy. So it's bastardized, But and plus, by the way, the community, we see a lot of senators and people in Congress, but it's still not that many. So there really isn't much representation. And then on the local level, where you get councilmen and people like that representing for you, or more particularly in smaller areas, they don't seem to have any power or any concern with what you're doing. So that becomes an issue as well. So the representative democracy is really going to be always going to be difficult. It theoretically would be to get one person to represent everything that you agree with, right? But one thing these politicians have the power to do now, more so because of social media and the coverage being so daily, is that they can speak to you all the time and they can speak on issues all the time. So a person like Alexandra Ocasio Cortez, her articulation, her ability to speak on issues, and her ability to explain things, she has a very good way of explaining things. Um, ends up being something that impacts the people in the way that they think. You know what I mean? Just like Trump and his idiocy impacts people, just like we'll see people, youth that grew up watching Obama as president, are impacted differently and actually have a visual and a reality of a black man that is articulate and of a high level. You know, this is something that we never saw. When I was growing up, I've never saw a Puerto Rican in a level of high stature. Let's say there was politicians that were Puerto Rican, for example, but you didn't see them. You didn't know who they were. Unless you were really there, like you didn't know what they were doing. You didn't know how they were in touch. And as teenagers or whatever, you certainly didn't see them articulating themselves and battling people, all people in power, the way, let's say, Cortez does. So it affects people. You gotta study the science of how the way that you behave affects people. And that's why I always talk about your culture is always out there. You can never take it back. You know, it's out there. It cannot be changed. It's there. You know, so that's something to think about. You know. Okay. All right. So let me know if there are any questions. I want to let's see if I can get into something else here. I'm in the mood to really answer the questions that you have. And just give you some ideas because all right. Any questions? Some of the old plus lessons, the that are major that I give every student, and I've given some new to. I've handed out some new ones to new students. I handed out some of the plus lessons to new students. So you've got the build awareness square. Um, and others like that. And also, where are we at with the triangle of power, right? How are people dealing with making a regimen for themselves, right? Making some kind of regimen for themselves so that they could build, you know? Very important. You know? Very important. Right? All right, let me know. Let me know what's good. Context, work, and all. That's right. That's right. By the way, I think I have Gandhi's autobiography if anybody is interested in it. You know? All right. So how do people see today's mathematics? I haven't gotten a build on today's mathematics. You know, what does the wisdom of our culture, born in equality, have to do with the unknown? Right, for those that have both. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Let's see what we get. I want to see what you guys get to me. Come on. I'm gonna go home sad, disappointed. What's going on? All right, we got a lot of people in here and no one is building. Okay, so no questions, no one's building. We just want to hear Sunya's talk about things. All right, so I'll talk. All creation is 24. All of it has the nature of it. Right? The way our culture works, right? The way our culture works, the way of our culture, right, is about diving into the unknown. Okay, everything that you build, right? Indeed, Clara, that's right. If I apply the wisdom in my culture, then I will equal. That's right. Also, what's wrong with the Black Power perspective? I don't think that. You know what the big problem with the Black Power perspective? I don't think anybody knows what black is. That's it. That's it. That's what's wrong with the Black Power perspective. People don't know what black is. They have no idea. Okay. They want to run around town, the end of the movie, Spook Who Sat by the Door, and kill everybody that's not black, and then kill the sellouts and this and that, and they have no idea who is black. Hmm. You cannot empower what you don't know. They say, well, I know who black people are. Well, who are they? And then if you find out that black people are the creators of everything in the universe, then now black power is different. Black power doesn't extend to only those creators, but to everything that they created. So now there's a responsibility to all creator, all creation, everything. Right? And of course, though, the question, what's wrong with black power perspective, is a very vague question. Very vague. You know? Very vague. Study them. Study those books in any order you want. Equal to what is unknown. Okay, I see you, Clyde. That's very good. I see that understanding. Okay. The wisdom of this culture is the female factor. Okay, I see where you were trying to go in there. Okay, not wrong. Right. The way of our culture is to make the unknown known. When that is happening, though, it's a level of equality, of balance. Creators make what is unknown known, and there's always a balance of what is unknown, what is about to be becoming. You know what I mean? Jammy Jam said, "A wisdom." Got all of that out of wisdom culture, born equality. What's interesting is that in your build only is working because you're saying it's not unknown. But then why is it unknown in the alphabet? Why is it 24 unknown? See? You can't just flip it conveniently. There's a reason there's a reason for that. You know? Peace, Shatik. Wow, you know what's crazy, right? Shatik, it hasn't been much of a difference, chlorophylls. Um, Actually, yeah, well, one difference is the regular chlorophyll protein powder. Um, that's pretty much it. But the one add-on though is that I take just one spoonful of black seed oil every day. Every day, you know. Been doing that, and that has really worked. And also too, the major change in my diet has been to have I have had zero. Um, there have been no cheat meals, nothing, no cakes. the last maybe 2-3 months, since June. Yeah, June, July, August, September. Yeah, so the last about these last 4 months, I haven't had any like, because everything would be vegan, but I haven't had any like vegan cakes, cookies, chips, which is really a thing. Uh, nothing like that. Been my cheat meal. It's hardly a cheat meal. Um, Dried fruit, but unsulfured, just the fruit itself. No sulfured, unsulfured, nothing like that. No, and just that, especially the mango. Yeah, Trader Joe's, mango strips. Yeah, that's been my like sugar treat. And so I've been able to, like in the last month, I've been able to gain weight, but just all natural, nothing, nothing wasteful. So that's what I've tried to do to keep as healthy as I can, though. What type of healthy snacks could I have that, lots of nuts and seeds, lots of nuts and seeds throughout the day, mixed into the meals, all that kind of stuff, right? Dr. Dankenstein, ironic you build on the Black Power perspective. I watched a video yesterday where a Muslim god, those guys, funny ass niggas, was building the lessons being pro-Black, and us saying we aren't pro-Black or anti-white was contradictory. You got to understand this. 120 lessons are things that we study, okay? They are things that we study. So if it says something, like it says the black man is God, it doesn't mean that we go out there yelling like, yeah, we're better than everybody. Look what it says here. The white man is the devil. We go around saying, hey, you're a piece of shit. You're a devil, this and that. These are the natures by which people were made, and it's the nature by what we have created everything. Those lessons express those ideas, but they're not the definitive answer to how we will behave in all situations. Like the simplest bottom line assumption of how we would behave once reading a degree isn't how we were going to behave, So that's why 120 doesn't necessarily dictate how we are creators. We are analyzing 120 to get an understanding, right? I don't, Shatik, I'm answering Shatik's question without saying what I'm talking about. The CMOS thing, man. I've had some CMOS though, but it's always been like casual. So I don't really know the effects of CMOS on me because I've always had it like as a special treat or something like that. Very rare, and usually it's always like a Harlem thing. I never really bought like CMOS to test it, So yeah, I had bought black seed oil, like a year, maybe 2 years ago, and it tastes. I don't know. It tastes horrible. So the benefits were strong. So I was like using it for when I was weak or when I needed more energy or something like that. And then now I figured in these times though to be as strong as possible. So I've been having it every day. But the CMOS is something I still, I have not really experimented to see how much benefit. Also pro-Black or anti-white, no fence riding. Well, congratulate yourself for saying some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Seriously, it's the dumbest shit I ever heard. And I'm going to say this, though. Like, we're talking pro-Black, right? I've been in this building for 20 years. Same bat time, same bat channel. Y'all know when I'm here. So you could bring all that dumb shit here. What fence riding am I doing? It's all these pro-Black people that are out there saying, kill this, do that. And they don't know how to support anything. They don't know how to be positive in the community. They don't know who's Black. They don't know who has black blood. They don't know who's confused about their blackness because they don't know their history. They don't know who's peddling confusion so that they can get ahead by blood sucking. They don't know the difference between any of these things. Being pro for some reason or another just makes us another group that's just looking at things on the physical level. And one of the reasons that we're neither pro-black nor anti-white is because we're not judging based on what people look like. We're judging things based on what is righteous and what is devilishment, what is right and what is wrong. Okay? All these pro-black groups, they talk a lot. I haven't heard one of them say and read this science and they come and say this shit is true. The black man is God. We created everything. And so well, now you got a responsibility for the whole planet. No, I ain't with that. I'm just with the pro-black stuff. Why? Because they would rather funnel into the people that they think that they ought to help because they're too weak to realize that their ancestors made everything. Every last thing. And now when you look at devilishment in the world, you're looking at devilishment as something that was done outside of yourself and done to you. When I look at devilishment happening in the world, I look at it as something that we started and we need to finish it and we need to control and heal all of this world. It is our responsibility. So don't give me none of that shit on no fence riding over here. I ain't even got no time to be blocking some dumbass shit like that. You guys are talking, you come in here and you talk tough, and I haven't seen any writing in no community. Any writing. What writing are you doing? Because if I'm fence riding, then what ride or dying are you doing? Not doing anything, though. You buy some black products, so you buy some shea butter, you buy some cocoa butter, and you buy some black soap, and now you're building. Who have you taught? Who have you gone out there and said, what are we going to do in here? What are we going to do there? If I say I'm not dealing with pro-black, that doesn't mean that I'm not supporting a black business if they have something great. My brothers, my sisters, everything. That have things that are really worthwhile. That if I have products, though, that I could get in this store, and then the brothers have it here, and they might have for $1 or $2 more, I'm going to go over here and take that journey and go over here, right? A lot of people, a lot of people talk that stuff, and I have literally lived in this Harlem these last 20 years. You know what I mean? Lived here, coming here all the time. You know what I mean? All the time. And literally saved up all of the stuff that I could have bought in any other borough or any downtown or anything. Before it was emails and before it was Amazon Prime and you could order these products and stuff. And even after, if I could buy healthy stuff all in one spot in this nice little white health food store, I would say, no, the brothers got this uptown. So this is off the list, this is off the list, this is off the list. And we'll just get these 2 items here. And then we'll go uptown and we'll get the rest. And then going on a train, and getting different items, different places, just so we could support the people that we knew. Now, we're not going to get those oils here. We're going to support the brothers out there in Spanish Harlem, though. The Boricuas over here. We're going to get this. Oh, yeah. These brothers are selling this. I'm going to get it here. I wasn't even getting, before COVID, and I could go everywhere, I wasn't even getting even the white products from the white stores. I was buying the Bronner soap from the Africans over here. All of that stuff. Y'all don't know what black power is. Pro-black or anti-black, no fence riding. I think it's funny. that Hebrew name, those Hebrew letters. I don't know how to, what I should call you, but you said I born equality by maintaining balance, adapting and making adjustments in now time, real time. Okay, that's not a build on the math though, because just because the math born six doesn't, you didn't tell me how you got there from wisdom culture. So, you know. And plus though, if I don't know who you are, introduce yourself. Right, right. Dr. Dennis, I think, yeah, probably might be talking about that. Wise you, peace, God. Peace. Today's math is wisdom, culture, freedom, born equality. Watching how I apply complete thought and use it in the proper time of beginning and ending, and stay in season with everything equally. 8 shades of originality. Speak on it. Indeed, indeed. Yeah, Chad. Niggas. Also, if you're not calling me out by my name, that's fine. You know what I mean? But again, we gotta look at this thing. You know what I'm saying? We gotta look at this thing. A lot of times we go pro-black, and we've allowed blacks to make up all types of stupid black ideas. We didn't have Hebrew Israelites until they tried to make up some dumbass idea about it. A lot of stupid ideas are in the name of pro-black shit. And they want to be anti-white though, but all they're teaching though is people to look at that enemy or that oppressor as so high and mighty that they can never be toppled. If you spent your time finding out the depth, and I mean you rhetorically, not you also or anything like that. You rhetorically, any of you. If one spends their time getting this knowledge and trying to figure out though, what is it that we mean by black and how are we extending this? You see? The point when the father said we're neither pro-black nor anti-white wasn't so that way we don't support each other once we recognize, hey, he's black, the black, brown, yellow, they're all black. We got to support each other. These are the contradictions in the language for you to see the deeper understanding. They're not hypocrisies. They're contradictions when you put them together. Having a black seed roll with the brown seed, roll with the yellow seed, and yet having all the original people come together like that, having them come together in parliaments, having them come together as one so they could do things as one. Then it contradicts because it says we're neither pro-black nor anti-white. Why? Because he wanted people to be based on the principle and not necessarily on just the feeling of things happening, right? The feeling of things happening. And a lot of the pro-black movement is basically feelings. Who has introduced science of genotype as opposed to phenotype? It goes back to the arguments, right? The disagreements that I had with Noka Rashidi, because he only classifies black as a phenotype, right? So as a photo historian, or in a lot of his photo historical work, he'll try to find people with African features in all these different places, right? But what happens though? What makes, as a scientist, as a real historian, what really makes people black? What makes them black? You know what I mean? What is the depth of that? When you get knowledge yourself, this is what we're studying. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're studying. You know? And why I always get passionate about it, right? Because I've been here, you know what I'm saying? But the other reason I get passionate about it is because if you're learning in this cipher with me here, right? Right now, what people want to do is have a race war that we are ill-equipped to win, right? The only way we could win any kind of physical war is through guerrilla warfare. And ain't nobody ready for none of that stuff. Okay? Can hardly hold their own though in a damn regular fight. Then you're gonna have whole families and all that kind of stuff happen. You know? So when we think about how we're gonna react to situations like the Breonna Taylor situation, all these situations, right? How are we gonna deal with situations like that, right? These are real people in power, right? It's only because of these situations that people have become more aware and they've studied them more that they know that certain people, like they would already know that if it happened in places like Kentucky and you got, you know, super devils running it like Mitch McConnell, um, that this was going to be the outcome, right? So what I want you to do though is learn how to use all of your tools, the tools of organization, though, the tools, economics, all of these things. They use them all united front, building up that base. But in the back of your mind, though, you're responsible for everything. No matter what, though, there's nothing that has happened, you know, that is not of the fault of you. That's what the lessons is telling you. That's what the knowledge itself is telling you. The original man created everything. In those degrees, it says we made the devil. So that means that there's an aspect of devilishment that is built upon separation, separating the seeds, that has caused all of this to happen. Right? So Jamie Jam is raising his hand though. What do you want to say, Jam? Right? All right. Does anybody have? All right. Saying without saying, really, I'm fooling myself, but about as ready as I can be. Um, Ready as can be about what? It's kind of mid sentence there. Wisdom, culture, freedom, born. Wisdom, culture, freedom, born equality. If I know who I am, society can't tell me who I am. Therefore, I can deal with everyone accordingly. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Peace, Kasi. All right. I see you. I see you. All right. Peace, peace.
It's the G1.
All right. Peace, God. Peace, God. He made his way here. I was like, who's this? You were on Instagram, right?
On the YouTube and the chat, and I follow you on Instagram.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up.
That,
Oh, that's peace, man. That's peace. Appreciate that. That's love right there. All right, Mr. G1 is literally in the building. Where you at, that God?
D Mecca.
D Mecca?
Yeah.
Oh, that's peace. So you here for a little bit?
Yeah, I was coming to the barbecue, the community barbecue on Saturday.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I was like, yo, let me make my presence. You know what I mean? We seen your herd out here.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
peace.
it's for the, like, I guess it's gonna be the last outing for the season or something like that, outdoors type thing. So
Yeah, I don't even know. You know.
yeah, so they were saying it looking like this might not be doing more function. So I was like, yo, let me make it something 2020 for the
Yeah.
monumental year. You know, I was getting knowledge of self, so I'm actually just finishing up actual facts, getting ready to get into the solar facts and cap 120, Ching 120. So
That's peace. That's peace, God.
y'all build with the God. I like that's power one.
Oh, okay.
How to see Medina.
That's peace. That's
Yeah,
peace.
it is.
You got a strong one there, man. That's
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
up. That's what's up. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, last couple of classes has been, empty because students they're not really coming through and stuff. They're texting me and stuff and getting at me in other directions. But all y'all hearing a thing and
Yeah, that's peace with us. At least we got the, you know what I mean, online connection. So
absolutely,
I guess
absolutely.
everybody's schedules, you know, that's the easiest way to like be here.
Go back, do the knowledge. Yeah.
That's too.
Yeah. And they could rewind my rant before about the pro-black shit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, one cat, yeah, he gonna get it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, he said he would. No, but it's on peace though. He said he wasn't calling me out. That might have been, I just, sometimes you gotta hit the fire. You gotta have the fire. Kasim, you said live life wisely. Wisely, okay. To bring balance. Okay, that statement has wisdom culture in it. You're not in the right order, but if you reword it though, it'll have it in there. You know. But the way of our culture, right? To put us in the proper position is always to deal with the unknown. The unknown is where everything is. Because we're the creators, though. We're the creators. So everything we create, though, was once unknown. That's why the most important question that you can always ask, though, is what if? Right? What if? Right? Every time you create, though, you always say, what if? If you don't say what if, then nothing's getting created. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everything is through a question. That's how you get more answers.
What if we did this? What if we did that? You know? And it also happens with the students, too. The best student is always one that
Yeah,
peace, God.
I'm going on, brother. Right?
That's peace, God.
I gotta make arrangements for my wife's funeral, so I'm going on.
Oh, okay, God. Okay.
Yeah, you got it, right?
I got it, God.
Okay.
But wise you said peace. He said peace G1.
So
Made his
God,
live
God,
period.
Peace, God. Peace to the God. Wise you.
Made his light known, moving fast. 7 miles per second. All right, that's peace. That's peace. Yeah, indeed. Yo, so is there anything you wanted to ask, like that you never got to detail, something like that? Like now that you're in the physical
God, there's
classroom.
so many things right now.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
have one particular determined question right now in my mind. I will say that I haven't picked the righteous name yet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I've been like going through that in my mind.
Well, let me throw some things out there, right? The name that you pick, right? First, you have to go through a whole, you go through a procedure where you're trying to think about what you are. That's why I always like people writing it down. Like, what are you, God? And what do you intend to be, though?
Mm-hmm.
Do you define yourself by the skills you have, the talents that you have, the things that you do? Right? And if so, you be honest with yourself, because the name reflects the knowledge of yourself best. And that's why people will carry it with you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to carry that. It's one thing they're going to give you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to give people shit, but if they have my name, they already know. And you could see it more as a test because nobody has my name. So when they hear my name, it's pretty much going to be one guy they're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's the thing I've been.
So what are you about? Sometimes we don't know how to describe that. We don't know how to detail that. So what is our nature? How would you describe that nature? What do you intend to be? A lot of my name came about because I was like, what do I intend to do? You know, what's the most glaring thing? You know, so it just came that way. You know, it doesn't hurt that I was writing for a long time, so things were a little bit faster as far as writing things and making things up. But if you could detail, you know, who you are as God. And that's why all these assignments, so like show assignments, just you write yourself, like show and prove that I'm the God. That should be an assignment though, you know? Just like they should be mental exercises though. Like you always, you know, like that mental exercise I was talking about, like picture the person that will disagree with you no matter what, you know, usually a parent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in your mind, have this mental dialogue, what they would say to you back when you say you're God, and then how you would respond and what they would say against you. It gives you that practice though. And then,
Yeah, resistance.
right. These are all mental exercises, you know what I'm saying? Mental exercises, you know? And they're not just from this that I got this from. This is from writing editorials. This is from writing pieces. Really, when you write about music, most people will take it as opinion, but I don't write them as opinion. I'm writing them as like, I proved this part of the song here. I proved that this was good. So I give you a real reason to prove an opinion. So I don't want people to counter it. I give an editorial about an issue. I don't want people to just counter it with one simple, you know, debunk. So you start to think in advance, what would they say against it? So these are the kind of things that the exercise, mental exercises to engage in. With your name, try to separate your personalities from your intentions. What is your personality? What is your intentions? Because some people, if you ever hear people building their name, though, sometimes their build, I'm not saying it's wrong, but a lot of times their actual name is based off the opinion, their personal opinion of their behavior. And there is a slight flaw to that, because the more that you get knowledge yourself, the more calm that you could be. Most people know me as very calm, but I could light it up. So, you know, what is the personality? It's usually what's most consistent with the individual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have to separate those things to find out what is it that you're really about? What is it that you intend to do? You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I think a lot of people would have different names though if they thought about it like that. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't just be like an attribute made into a name. You know what I'm saying? Even though some carry it, I know gods that their name is knowledge though, and they're really all about study all the time. They're really about that. That's all they do. They pretty much all they're doing is they always studying and having insights about study. You know. So that's how you play around with it though. And then you can play around with the creativity of it. Because you're making a name, it's a written thing. I also advocate though, you reading a lot of different things. Yeah. Just read, you know what I'm saying? Read, watch a lot of creative things. Like everything you watch, indulge in it a little bit more carefully. So you watch a movie, you listen to music, do all these things, indulge in them a little bit more carefully, like analytically, as opposed to just enjoyment. You know what I mean? Even with names, if you see regular names, look at the words though. Does that sound good? How can I flip that? I like the way that rang. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. You know, all that kind of stuff. You know.
So that is
because you're also creating something.
Yeah, you're supposed to make it.
Yeah, you're creating it.
Yeah,
you know, my idea. I always suggest you create it. A lot of my students, they'll come back with an attribute. I don't go, damn it. You know, I don't go. I told you to make something dope. You know, like. But they have to they have to have it though. I've had brothers tell me some crazy names, you know what I mean? Like oh man, there was one I forgot what it was though, but there was one that was really funny. The guy, and I said, man, you can't even walk around with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was trying to flip the G1 thing because you know, like Cat's been calling me G1 for a long time. So I was building with one guy. He was like, "Yo, that's kind of corny, God, not G1." So he's like, "Oh," I was like, "Yo, well, G is God and knowledge is
right.
One is knowledge." So he was like, well, "Yeah, go God knowledge." And then I'm like, "Yo, it's mad God."
What's your physical degree, God?
I'm culture. I mean, part of freedom, understanding.
Okay, freedom, understanding.
Yeah,
Okay.
So yeah.
So So I see that. Yeah. But it could really be anything, man. You know, anything that you think, you know.
He actually was flipping the G1, and so I like was gonna go with the Allah infinite, like Allah's God and the knowledge is infinite thing. But I just found out that that's Mega's actual righteous name. Yeah, I didn't know that. I always thought Mega was there.
Okay, let's see. I got a couple. Oh, you asked. You missed it. I had said how I see today's math. Wisdom culture, all being born in equality, right? Equality is that proper position. I always see equality as a state of mind where everything you're living, you could see how it's working out. Where you're on the cups of what? Showing and proving who you are, 7, being able to actually change everything, and then born something. So it's that proper position, I call it. When I look at wisdom culture, I look at wisdom culture as like the way of our culture, though, the usefulness of a culture. And to me, that's why it links up a lot with me always with the alphabet, with the unknown, because to me, the usefulness of a culture is bringing out the equality. To me, that equality is the unknown. Because once you reach the equality, you've actually taken your creations as a culture. It has wielded its power and now has made a new landscape. You know what I mean? And so you've taken something that was unknown and you've brought it out, you know? And that's how I see the day's math, you know what I mean? That's always been like
Yeah, I drew it up in my head earlier. I was just like building with self down, and it's like I see wisdom culture as, you know, making good decisions about your life, you know, to bring about a well balance.
okay,
Within that.
okay, right. So the making of the good decisions, like the wisdom, right? No, that's peace. That's definitely peace. Dr. Denkenstein said today's math. If you got a name, righteous name or something, let me know. Okay, it sounds funny. Like I feel like I'm in a Parliament album here. Today's math is wisdom culture, all being born in equality. I speak to mentally trained, not only myself, but others within earshot without prejudice to all human families of planet Earth. That's peace. Chad said, I hope you're recording this so I can do a deep dive into a righteous name. Yeah, God, all these live sessions become, you know, recorded. So when you go on, just follow my YouTube channel so you can get the updates of when I go on live, and you can go back and watch all these. You know what I mean? Right. You mentioned Mingus a while ago. What's another jazz artist you really like? We'll be here all day. I have a huge jazz collection. I'm a jazz fiend, you know? Yeah, that's like, you know, my number one guy's always been Miles. So you know, there's certain artists that when you collect, if you don't really know who to get, you start with them and you just branch out. So like with reggae, the obvious choice would be Bob Marley. And I was playing a lot of Bob Marley. So today, then learning more about Bob, you can actually dive into other stuff. But I'm out when you study Miles and when you study jazz, you're gonna get into the band members. So you're gonna get into Coltrane. You're gonna get into Cannonball, Bill Evans, right? Herbie Hancock. These are all Wayne Shorter. These are all people that played with Miles. So just on that alone. But if you study their influences, you get into Dizzy and Bird, right? So everybody I mentioned, I have a lot of works on. I have multiple albums of many people. So it's just a day. Like since you said, you know, Mingus to me is tops on bass though, as far as a bass band leader. I can't think of another band leader that's a bass player that dominated jazz as he did. You know, can't think of him. By the way, as a side note, you know, the great Andy Gonzalez, he led a lot of bands in salsa, which is very jazz based. So you'd have to put him in there, you know. But yeah, Mingus is nuts. Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. Just throw that out there. The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. That's an incredible. It's a 4-track album. Songs are very long, so that's why it's 4 tracks. He was actually mixing tracks together, so he was doing things different. Incredible album, man. Incredible album, though. You know what I mean? That's my favorite Charles Mingus album. But as far as why all the legends, like I have countless albums from Coltrane, Lee Morgan, everybody. You know what I mean? Chick Corea has some essentials. I don't have a big Chick Corea selection. But yeah, definitely a lot of the the era of the 50s and 60s. I have a lot of soul jazz too. And I love organ jazz. So I'm upset. Jimmy Smith, all those organ guys, all the bluesy soul jazz guys. Stanley Turrentine. He's actually my favorite. He's not the best, but he's my favorite saxophone player. And it's only because of the style of music, you know what I mean? But Prince Wise Magnetic Intelligence Allah. Whoa, that's a big name though. You gotta let me know what got all that in there. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff. Right? That's peace, self-elevation. Peace. Jeweler TV said, peace to the gods, Earths, and 85ers. Wow. Where are the 85ers? I didn't see it. I haven't seen them yet here. But if they are, they're welcome too. That's how I learned. Dark Kim said, LOL. I just saw Dark Kim. What the hell? Got Dark Kim laughing at me digitally, though. I just saw him before. He's everywhere. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, jazz, I go all day though. I'll go all day. But I guess since the album of the day, Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. You know what I mean? You don't like that? Oh man. Can't get into Mingus off that. Probably. And it's different than other people usually, if you know your jazz, people usually say Mingus has the album to start with Charles Mingus. I just love Black Saint and the Sinner Lady though. But you can't go wrong. It's like classics of classics though. Like
I'm into Sun Ra, I like him a lot.
Yeah. I have a lot of Sun Ra records. But by the way, Sun Ra has all of his albums on Bandcamp actually. Yeah. So you could stream all his stuff and listen.
Y'all follow him.
The era of jazz I like the least though is avant-garde. So once they get nuts though, I'm a bit of a bougie purist, you know what I mean? Yeah. So my favorite era is the 50s into the 60s, but I got a lot of older stuff. I love Duke Ellington. I have a huge Duke Ellington collection. I have hundreds of songs. Like I just told before, I have like over 600 Ella Fitzgerald songs. So you got to have Billy, Ella, and Sarah Vaughan, right? So Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan. That's where you start with the singers. You know what I mean? And if you're collecting, I know this sounds blasphemous to all of us black and brown, but Frank Sinatra, though, you can collect them as jazz too. A lot of stuff he did. He has a heavy jazz aesthetic. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, Dark Kim throwing a dart at you. Yeah. Whenever someone tries to turn their 85 name into a righteous name, it's funny to me. Oh yeah, sometimes people use that so they don't have to tell people they made a change because they're going by the same name. That is true though. That is one thing to think about though. Dark Kim's being right there. Yeah, that is true.
When I was seeing it though, it was like I was like like the evolution of.
No, I get what you're saying. I didn't see the. Yeah. The thing is that once you get this righteous name, you want to make a name with it. You know what I'm saying?
I was seeing myself kind of like boxing myself in by having to stay within that whole G1 mind frame.
Oh yeah. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. I want to like.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah. Plus, too, to me, G1 has too much of a graph name. Like it's
that's what I hear you was more. Like,
right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Indeed, I will take you.
Yeah, Dexter Gordon has some great work though. Go. That's the album you get from Dexter Gordon. You start Go. Yeah. If Mecca said I've mathematically chopped up Stanley Turrentine many times. Yeah, you know, Stanley Turrentine, he has an extremely long career. So it starts out with the hard bop, 50s, 60s, soul jazz, but by the 70s and 80s, though, he's doing a lot of funkier soul jazz. So you get a lot of breaks and things like that. You know what I mean? He's one artist though that their whole career sounds good. You know, who's another one that goes into all those eras and everything sounds good, even though it's a little bit more poppy. And if you're a jazz purist, you're like, oh my god, like you know, is Freddie Hubbard. You know, but Freddie Hubbard, I kind of like all of his stuff. You know, even though the early '70s albums are, you know, they're essential. Again, yeah, I could talk jazz. Most genres I could talk on forever. You know what I mean? Quincy brought out a lot out of Frank. Yeah, yeah. Quincy produced really, you know, it's Quincy that produced Fly Me to the Moon. If you ever heard that song, look up Fly Me to the Moon, different people singing it. They always sing it like a slow ballad. And Marvin Gaye even sang Fly Me to the Moon. And it's always Fly Me to the Moon. And Quincy is the one that decided to change the arrangement, make it more speedy. And then there you go. Frank has the best one, you know? And Frank does have the best version of Fly Me to the Moon I've ever heard. I have a lot of them. Yeah, I even have Sarah Vaughan versions and stuff. Frank's is the best because it's the only one that's up tempo like that. You know? So yeah. Lot of Frank Sinatra stuff is good. People hear Frank Sinatra, they think of New York, New York when he was older and he's kind of just talked his lyrics. Yeah. You know, New York, New York. He just sounds like a guy in Staten Island just talking, you know, forget about it, bada boom, you know. But if you got to listen to when he was called The Voice, like 40s, 50s, 60s, and that's when you see like he really had real skill, like not just singing power, but like skill, like he knew how to interpret. I'm into everything, Miles Davis, everything, absolutely everything. I think Miles Davis in the late 50s, the Kind of Blue stuff is classic. That's the classic essential. That's the GOAT album, and I love all of that. Sketches of Spain, but
I like
once you get to In a Silent Way, then right after that is Bitches Brew. That's you're getting into rock funk era. Okay. And to me, from 1969 to 1975, right? Then he quit for a while, right? Because the coke and all that. That era is the rock funk era. All of that though is mind blowing, but you don't really know how mind blowing it is unless you get all of the box sets to have the complete recordings. Because the way they recorded Miles back then, the way he recorded was that he would just turn on the recorders and have everybody just play. So the albums of those times, they're just pieces. Yeah. But if you get all the studio sessions, and you hear a lot of stuff in there, you hear a lot of stuff, and it's funky, it's hardcore, it's crazy. You see all the influences, and I love all the Miles eras. The least I like of Miles is really the latter eras in his late life because I don't think it's that deep.
It seems like all artists do that. Yeah.
Right, but at the end of Miles' career, at the end of his life and everything, there is one legendary album. Yeah. I give you that time. We're on the crates right here. Let's see. I got the name of it though. So it's a soundtrack. Yeah, it's a soundtrack. It's from 1987. It's called Music from Siesta because Siesta was a film. It's a movie. It's like Sketches of Spain. So he used Moorish music. He used all of that, and he's using the arpeggios and all that. It's incredible. But a lot of the other stuff, I'm not really a fan. Like the Tutu album, the Aura album, I don't care for him like that. But Miles' funk era, rock era, man, I mess with that. That is as funky as anything from Parliament or anything. You know? Definitely. Yeah, the Rebirth, that Miles Davis documentary is on Netflix. So I saw it. I was watching it on Channel 13, but then they put it on Netflix. I just finished it on Netflix. So everybody should watch that because it gives you a good I've read his autobiography. I've read other biographies. That documentary really did a good job. If you don't know about Miles, check out the Miles documentary on Netflix, really the birth of the cool. because he started a ton of genres, including the cool jazz, right? So he did a lot of stuff. Real legend.
Who's in the bathroom?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Sunez. You know who's in the bathroom?
I have no idea. No idea at all.
Who's in the bathroom? Dakim.
All right. So let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to get into now that we have a half hour left. I'm definitely going to update a plus lesson. I'm trying to get through to it, but the long homework assignment project, I'm not going to explain it anymore. I'm going to make a plus lesson out of it, so that way I could give it. You know what I mean? That way it could be easier than me explaining it all the time. You know what I mean? But yeah, because it's a project though, so it's something that you could do by yourself. But it's not. You could hand it in if you really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? And you'd win my good graces for a long time. But it's really something that would fluctuate, because once you do that monthly project of building on the math the way I told you for the whole month, you could actually repeat it again. You know, so it's not a project that's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could always do it again. But it's just a framework by how you're looking at the mathematics and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the real goal of the assignment, though, is to have you thinking about writing your history in advance. You know, writing your history, figuring it out. You know what I mean? This is really the thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, Miles' autobiography is one of my favorites, though, because he talks so frankly. You know what's a great autobiography? Autobiography, like written by the person or told to as the person, is Billie Holiday's autobiography. Really great. Really great. Very great read. And of course, though, you know, the new students, I always throw you guys, I try to throw you a fun biography that's relevant. I always throw you guys the Tao Wu, Riz's autobiography. You know?
Yo, you ever read the Tao of P.E.A.C.E?
I did. I've read it and I liked it the first time years ago. When I read it recently, like a year ago, I thought it was trash. So, you know why? Because I thought that the Taoist principles that he's using and using as as P.E.A.C.E, he doesn't know him like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a really bad interpretation of the Taoist principles, you know? I'd have to open up the book to go through it, but you got to be very careful, because people will manipulate the Taoist principles and they have no idea what they mean. And when you read them after knowing it, because I read it early on, and when I studied more Taoism, I was like, wow, this guy is getting it all wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah, or applying it the way he feels like, so it could really fit with Pooh Bear, you know, like it didn't go for me, you know. So I absolutely don't recommend that book. You know what I mean? Like, there are some books that are interesting, like Tao of Physics is good, but Tao of Physics I don't recommend because I had it on a book list. I think I do have it on a book list, and it's one of the books that I'm going to probably chuck, because I find it to be a very convoluted book. You know what I mean? I don't think I have it on the list here. No, I have Tao of Wu, Wu-Tang Manual RZA, because I want people to get that. The Tao of Kung Fu, Bruce Lee, essential for getting a great description of the mentality of Kung Fu and the mathematics of it. Bruce Lee was a real philosopher, real thinker. Yeah, the Tao of Physics, I don't think I put that here. I think that book would be a little too complex, but it's very convoluted. He didn't really get all of the ideas, you know? Like, you know, when you read something that's like a good beginning to a point, like Yeah, it's the beginning of a
Because they finish
process.
it off, right?
Yeah, it's the beginning of a process, you know. Then there are other books here, like on the book list. I could do better. Like "Kill 'Em Before They Grow" by Michael Porter, though, is an extremely short book. So it might be wasting space here when Amos Wilson's "Awakening the Natural Genius in Black Children" is in there. But then Amos Wilson's books are really hard to find. So how have I made this a beginner list though if you can't get any of the books? You know?
Even on PDF, they're like,
Very, very difficult. I don't have any Amos Wilson books digitally. And like PDF, some sloppy dude taking pictures of it, like nothing. I
I was
haven't.
gonna ask you about that too, like PDFs. Like, how do you see that? Like with them, maybe like
Some of them are properly scanned, others are people taking pictures of it, you know? So it depends, you know? Some of them are, and of course, some of them got to stay even though they're out of print, like Ivan Van Sertima books, you know? Because if you ever get a chance to if you ever see a throwaway pile or a garage sale and they got Sertima books, man, you go in there, you buy it, you run away because those are crates and they have not been, republished, you know?
Yeah, I saved like a whole dumpster of books one time. They were like all like
Mhm.
black type African American.
Yeah, I don't lend them, don't give them to anybody, you know?
I got a library at the rest. So,
All right.
but yeah, like that Dial food that's in there. I got like you said, check.
All right, so Prince, this is your build on your name, right? The long name you gave. Oh man, unfortunately, I lost track of your name here. Where did you write it here? But you said my ways and actions show I have an attraction power to gathering and applying knowledge. Okay. Just being devil's advocate, right? Right. Everyone has attraction powers to gathering knowledge, though. Right. So how would we be unique in that? Right. Yeah, Amazon wants to sell Golden Age of the Moor for $168. Yeah, because there ain't no copies of that, you know. I have a PDF of it. It is very large. It's about 48 MBs. And I'll email it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really want people to have that book, you know. And it's not always the easiest way to read it. You know what I'm saying? But it's better than not having it at all.
Yeah, sometimes I'll print out a PDF if I really feel the need to. Like,
Yeah,
hold it in
yeah.
my hand.
You know, not all of us have. Everybody's gonna have the access to print like 400 pages of shit. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's one thing.
When I first started teaching, I was giving everybody handouts of things, actual physical books I was printing. But I worked at, a transcription. I worked at a transcription firm.
Yeah.
So they made transcripts. So they had lots of paper.
Yeah, I use my job.
I had lots of paper in that when I was working there. You know what I mean? But it's not really suitable now. You know what I mean? But yeah, email me. The Sertima books are something that's very difficult. It's either somebody really needs to get those books and republish those. It would be wonderful. And certainly digitize them. Because to me, I'd love to have them digital because I could put my notes in there easily. You know? Only a few books, like, a few Chanka de Diop books are brand new digital, that they're available digitally where you could buy it. You know? But yeah, if there's ever a book you want about any subject, we talk about jazz. If you want some jazz books and stuff, I got too much stuff.
Yeah, your book collection is probably crazy, right?
Digitally, yeah, it's about 2,000. Yeah, it's about 2,000. Over 2,000.
What about like physical?
Between moves and I got 2 baby mamas, so I lost a lot of books in those transitions, right? I probably, right now I probably have physical books, maybe about 200, maybe. You know, it's only so much you can fit. So it's not.
I'm sure they're all substance.
Yeah, no, they're all good. They're all good. Yeah, they're all damn good. You know, I got all my Certima books that I need. You know what I'm saying? I lost 2 Certima books, but I have them PDF. Situations, you know, but all of the books that aren't available that I've always wanted, though, I have though. You know,
That's the best part.
it's applying the knowledge that everyone does not possess. Okay, where we all can get we can all gather it, but without application holds no weight. True, absolutely. Okay, so yes, the story of the Moors in Spain by Stanley Lane Poole. That's right. That's right. Let me see if I can look in here. There are some new books that I have not read, but they are about Moorish society. So there are some new books I got that I have to look through about Moorish society because there aren't that many. There aren't that many. Let me see if I could find it here. There's a book by Richard Fletcher called Moorish Spain. It's about Moorish Spain. That let me see when that book came out. It might be a new book. It's new to me. I just found it recently. So yeah, it's a new book. Pretty new. Its copyright is 1992, but it probably was like nowhere to be found. It's first published as an ebook in 2015. So that's probably why it's making its rounds, you know, and how I got it. So there are some other books. I have another book about Andalus, which is a specific area in Spain. But these are books I haven't looked through. That's why I don't really recommend books I haven't read yet. But yeah, the story of the Moors in Spain, I think I may not be right, but you can get that for free on Google Books. That's why when you also get your Google Books app, when you search into their Google Play and look for books, you can get a lot of books for free. A lot of books are free.
Indeed, because I got like an Amazon cart right now with like about $500 in books, and I'm like, yo, do I really need to like buy these? Like, should I just download them?
Yeah, so yeah, buy the ones that you can't download.
Right. Yeah, because some are on there that you can.
Yeah, so the story of the Moors in Spain, if you buy it from Google Books, you can get it for $5. I think I have that book though. The Moors in Spain by Stanley Lane Poole is $4. So they have some stuff. Interesting here. They have one copy, but they have multiple copies they're selling of the Stanley Poole book. So they have another one they're selling for $1. So if you look through, you could get it though. That's a book that everybody keeps publishing digitally. But definitely a reference material. And in the golden age of the Moor, that's an important book that they use. All right, crazy because out of 26 years I've had the knowledge, you were the first person to say that. I always knew I was pushing the envelope. Okay, that's peace. That's peace. I say a lot of things to people for the first time. So Prince Wise, Magnetic Intelligence Allah, where are you from that you've had it this long? That's very interesting. And you know, if anybody needs anything, email me. Check out the 5% Media. .com. See what we're doing. If you want to add on and write, let us know. Email. All right, so we got about 10 minutes, though. Let me know. Okay, see, interesting, Colorado Springs. Okay. No, it doesn't deal with Hannibal, though. That's totally different. Yeah, no, not really. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That book shows you that the original man created the three-course meal, added the fifth string to the modern-day guitar, added drapes to windows during the Renaissance era. That's right. That's right. And that's why Golden Age of the Moor, by the way, is such an important book because it kind of sums up all this stuff anyway. You know, the Stanley Lane Pool stuff and everything like that. It extracts all that, gets all the best stuff out of it. You know, that's why Golden Age of the Moor is such a essential one to have. It's just a shame that out of the Ivan Van Sertima books, the only one that you could get digitally is They Came Before Columbus. You know.
Yeah, what's up with the Tower 52? You know,
I'm not sure if I know what that is.
yeah, it's supposed to be the discovery of the law of science, the Tower 52. I guess it's the Tower 52 hand blocks.
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
What about fighting of Allah, the nation of gods and earth?
I'm reading that book though. I don't want to speak about my opinion on it though. It isn't that good so far, my opinion. But for different reasons that most people would think. A lot of people use the word Tao and they don't know what it means. So.
Just throwing that around.
Yeah, I mean it means way though, but it has a specific connotation that it's much more complex. What it really means, Tao, when you talk about Tao, it means not just the way, but the nature. Basically, the inbred nature of virtue that is possessed in you that allows all things to happen. You know what I mean? And that you naturally have and should always be there. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we have about 10 minutes left. So let me know if you have any questions. That's peace. That's peace about the places you've been. Okay. Son of Soul, spell what? The Golden Age of the Moor? Yeah. I don't know. Are you asking me how to spell Golden Age of the Moor? That's pretty. Oh, you did spell it Tao, yeah. It's pronounced Tao, but it's Tao. Yeah. You really shouldn't read anything with Tao on it though, unless you read Tao Te Ching. You know? If you haven't read the Tao Te Ching and come to some understanding of it, because it takes multiple readings to get something out of it, everything's a way that everything else with Tao is a waste of time. Right. That definition. Although I don't know if I would use the word produce, I would say manifest. when you read the Tao Te Ching, a lot of it is about the nature that is, it's natural. Once it's described, then it's no longer natural. Right? That's why they always talk about once you have once the Tao is lost, then virtue is known. It doesn't mean that they're separate. It means that now you have to describe what virtue is, you know. But no, that's pretty much it. It's a good definition, though. I just, I would clip out produce, you know. Kinda. In some ways, yeah. The way water flows, and yeah, in some ways, yeah. Definitely, just to throw this out here, though, if you read the Tao Te Ching, this translation that I have ever read, and I read about almost 30 translations, um, is a translation by John C.H. Wu. C.H. Thomas Cleary's is also good too, but Thomas Cleary's translations of everything is good. But in this one lone one, I go with John C.H. Wu, but nearly everything else is Thomas Cleary. You're good for. That's some of it, Jammy Jam. It's a little bit more, yeah, it's a little bit more. But it's definitely things to delve into, because we talk about the black man being God by nature. And sometimes the studies of Taoism, though, they also express that. Because remember, Taoism, at least 3 times in 3 different sutras in the Tao, they ask, how do I know that this is so? And the answer is by what is within me. So there is constantly an internal looking in and analysis to figure things out. So that's something too that is in the Tao. All right, so just have a couple of minutes left. So if there's any questions and stuff like that, y'all did really good with the mathematics too. I was very pleased with the answers.
I always wonder, what are your thoughts on, like, this is a hip hop question, like Kool Keith?
Man, Kool Keith is weird as hell. I'm talking about like in real life, Yeah, that's my statement, though. Is that good enough?
Like, yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah,
that sums it up. Yeah, he's pretty weird.
No, but I'm
like
being funny, but he really is an innovator. You know what I'm saying? I just think that okay, remember I told you I don't really care for avant-garde jazz. And let me tell you why. I don't care for it because what people don't get out of jazz is not just players, though. This is why, like, a lot of people, they love Coltrane, and I love Duke Ellington, and I'll listen to Duke Ellington, and I'll listen to Miles, and I'll listen to something like that a lot of times before others. One thing that the avant-garde loses is that they don't make songs. It's just shows. It's just outpourings of prowess, and they're just veering into different areas of where they could go with their skill levels. And so it doesn't have a song quality to me. And that's my problem, though. They're really not songs anymore. With Kool Keith, because he does it by his persona. He's gone so far into this oddball persona, which could be real to him. I feel like it's really him. But it's so out there that it's too avant-garde for me as a listener. Okay. And sometimes it actually impairs him from actually making good songs sometimes, That's my take on that, Sometimes you can't get too nuts, And yet we want people to experiment, you know what I'm saying? To experiment with with ideas and give us things that we never heard before. You know, we'd be the first ones to complain when we don't, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Let's see. But no doubt, Sunez Allah. That's what I'm here for. You know? I didn't see peace. Wait, who? I see a piece at Righteous Debar, but I don't see Debar here. So, am I seeing things that aren't here? Okay. Yeah, you gotta help me out. So Miles Davis went to Barcelona to make an album that was made with same.
Cut out and put the slam lock on the door so nobody can come in. All right.
All right.
Peace, peace.
Peace, God. Ah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I get confused. I don't know y'all names. I don't know. From what I know, he didn't go to he didn't make the album in Spain, but he was inspired when he was out there in Spain. So from what I know, it wasn't recorded in Spain, though, from what I know. You know. And one of the I think it was Juan Rodrigo's Apregios. You know, he literally is hip hop. Like he brought that record in Joaquin Rodrigo's, and he was inspired off that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that album wasn't recorded in Spain, though. You know, it was inspired though. You know, because I don't know if you would like. Yeah, it wasn't recorded in Spain though. All of these albums though, they were, you know, the LP was a new thing. Like, and Miles being at Columbia though, when they devised the LP and the recording vinyl like that, was a big part of it. So they wouldn't have recorded anywhere else but that Columbia Street studio. You know, but definitely inspired though. You know? Miles Davis though literally was very hip hop because he would bring records he heard, like classical records and stuff, and be inspired to do certain things with it. You know what I mean? But with that said, let me throw my email in here so everybody could contact me though. We are at the end of this class. So if anybody has a question, email me and stuff. You have my number, text me and all that kind of stuff. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay vigilant though, and keep building. You know what I mean? The world doesn't change if you don't build. Right? Peace.
Peace.